I wanted to begin by showing you just a quick look at the Micro Voodoo Lines and a couple of things that I feel have helped keep me on the right side of things so far today. Now, I haven't been super active because it is the Monday after a 3-day weekend. And I think there's something to be said a lot of times for trying to let the market settle in, get a feel for make sure I am seeing things correctly. But I came into this morning telling traders that I was looking for an opportunity to buy because I felt like so many of the areas that we were gapping down into should be considered as support. And a few of the things that I noticed, one of which was the Russell took off right out of the gates. And you can see how these more intraday type roadmaps can really help paint, in this case, mostly just a target. So again, coming into the day wanting to buy for a few reasons that I'll continue to elaborate on. But then when you come over here and look at the Russell, you can use this on various time frames. One that's talked a lot about kind of for swing trading and day trading is the opening 15 minutes. But even if you take that down to something, I like thinking about a 3-minute chart and you establish the opening range, then the bar that follows stays inside that range. Well, now this third bar, this is the first bar that closes above the opening range. But notice how right out of the gates is that range breakout starts to give you a little bit of a directional move, how it comes into that tree line. Now, admittedly, it did push up a little bit above. This particular instance isn't to the tick, but you can see how if you had something short duration and you ran it into that level, it's something to be aware of as we're coming off a decent bit of it now. So that early Russell strength was part of what defined the opening action. And then you had some moves here in the Nasdaq. And this is where I look at this and just have to give you the, I get it that area of support, that tree line there did not hold. They got a good bit below it. But I'm usually not going to be looking at these types of situations and saying, all right, that break is something I want to get short when the cash market is still above its fire line. Again, if you use these often, you'll know how useful they can be. If the nomenclature or the naming of them is new to you, just spend some time really going through these sessions and I can almost guarantee you will find it helpful. But that's just to say in the futures, we're below the tree line. I come over here and look at cash, which of course accounts for the weekend gap, opening up down into this area. But you see how coming into that fire line, I know it didn't hit it to the tick, but knowing that this is the most important area of support and we've got a big reaction down into it, I'm usually going to look to those spots to be support. So I'm thinking, all right, cash is above the fire line, and then look at how the futures, once they recover, like I've told you, I know this one was not to the tick, but if you use that cash work or you use anything else that kind of keeps you leaning for something to buy, this is the pattern that you want to identify, and that is the get above and hold the pullback to, because you can see here in this instance, that's more what I'm talking about. It's not to the tick, but there's a pretty good degree of precision there, and you can run pretty tight stops from there. And let's say you don't get in at the perfect low and you wait for whatever type of buy trigger that you might like to use. Look how that, when used as an area of support, does a perfect job of completing its tree line roadmap. That's to say that when you hold the tree line, you seek out the tree line on the opposing end. The bigger work, the original voodoo lines, I feel like always made the most sense to me on daily and weekly, these big perspectives of how to, of how the market can move and does move. This is just taking those exact same proportions, those relationships, and putting them into a day trading framework. So again, you can see support here, targets here, and these are the moves that I'm seeking out. That's a quick review of kind of what has brought us to where we are this morning. Of course, that now will continue to be resistance. And I also like to try to make notes of moments in time when various indices are both at resistance. So Russell and Nasdaq right under their tree lines. So that'll be a little problematic for bulls. But then, of course, we would be amiss to not finish up the analysis with the S&P. So somewhat of a similar situation here, right? Where the tree line is something that is held to the tick. A lot of times too, the way that I'll tell folks to use the voodoo lines is you don't have to look at every single level. Just look at the ones that are working. And when you see like, oh, okay, there's another tree line that it held, again, not to the tick, not, I like it when it tests it because you can actually be thinking about placing your bid at these values. In this instance, if you had your bid sitting at the micro tree line, you never would have been filled, right? But it comes down into the zone, it starts to pick up. And then in this case, I'm going to move that, or just, the logic of the study set would say above 4070 has you targeting 4120. So that's a little bit bigger take, but that is what I see so far in that. And of course, there is also the huge oscillation and just what continues to be a little bit of Groundhog Day for traders with all the action around 4100. So, the market moves between voodoo lines, and I think you can study that on a macro and a micro kind of point of view, and gamma strikes, right? Between those two ways of thinking, I really feel like you can map out just about every move. We'll see how that looks with the cash index back at 4100 tomorrow. But that's, like I said, a few of the first things I wanted to look at off of that micro roadmap and where it leaves us as we get, just past this European close. We'll see if that's any change to the tone of the day. But I think that is probably where I will end things for today's conversation. As always, I appreciate you spending a little bit of your day with me and hope you found it a helpful review. If you have any other questions, comments, or otherwise, I will be in the options room for the close today, and I hope to see you there. Hey traders, this is Henry with simplertrading.com. I wanted to thank you for watching today's video. I hope you found it helpful, and if so, be sure to click the like and subscribe buttons down below. If you would like to also see me putting these ideas into action and trading my own account live in front of you, be sure to sign up at simplertrading.com, and I hope to see you in the chat room sometime soon.